I did a video last year, I think, on the chicken tractor and what we had planned for it, but I've done a couple of modifications to it this morning that were kind of long overdue. So it's a good time to do a quick video update and also to show you how that integrates with Ruth Stout method behind me. So that is the chicken tractor. It's been out for about, best part of 2 years it's been in use. So you can see it's inside the electromesh. Now this is, hang on, there we go. This is their summer quarters. In winter they're in a greenhouse. We've got a small polytunnel going up this summer, and in future that will be where they are. It'll be just the side of the caravan there. That's where they'll be in winter, where it's really protected, really warm, and they'll be turning wood chip biomass into compost for us all winter. But yeah, this is where they go in the summer. Now they're about due to be moved, so you can see it's kind of scorched earth because there's a very slight slope and they constantly scratch downhill. So at the bottom end there's best part of a foot of mulch that they scrape down, and I'll rake it back uphill. It's been very dry, but you can tell down under the mulch that's still moist. So yeah, it's pretty good, but it's about due to get a top dress of mulch. So they're here now, but next door in this patch is where they were until about a week ago. I've mounted all the mulch just into rows, and that's had potatoes planted in, and that's our main crop, potato crop for this year. It needs more mulch going on. You can see that where I've scraped it together to make the mounds, there's a bit more coming, but we've got a load of wood chip. I just need to barrow a load over. But while it's in rows like this, it's the best time to show it really. The potatoes went in pretty well chitted, long overdue. So they'll be popping through soon, and at that point you won't want to see any of the rows. And with having things in this sort of sized enclosure for the chickens, you can see there's a sprinkler setup. That sprinkler in about 25 minutes will irrigate this whole area. It's a really good size for a single sprinkler system, because even with multiple things running, we've still got plenty of water pressure to run a single sprinkler, no problem at all. So this is the chicken tractor. It's pretty simple. This is from early spring. They had a layer of cardboard in the bottom of it, but that's just been pulled out and that hasn't been dealt with yet, which is why that's still there. But you can see it's got a mesh floor, so as they're in at night, all the manure, all the droppings come through and underneath. But because they're constantly scratching, that doesn't build up underneath as you'd expect it to. It's always being stripped out to the sides. So I've done two modifications this morning. The first one is I've got some pieces of fencing wire and I've bent them into loops and I've screwed them on, so we can have one for shell grit and the other one just for digestive grit for them for the crop. So previously we just had these things freestyling around and they always get knocked over. Each of these tubs is just a recycled yogurt tub. It's got a hole poked in the bottom that I melted with a hot nail just so that water doesn't build up in it. And that's the first one I've done. The second modification I'll show you in just a minute when I've got the lid up. But you can see that because it's got that slope on the roof, water runs down and runs into the buckets. This one I just topped up this morning, and that's just got some nipples on the bottom so that the chickens can get water pretty much all the time. It doesn't often need topping up, but you can see if I drop these little side flaps down, which sometimes you just need to have access in, so they're really useful for that. But if I drop them both down, like so, hey chucks, then you can see that this whole section here, where are we, pivots up so I can have full access to it. Now this flap here, you can see, won't move because this is screwed on. But if I twist that, that can lift up. So I can use that to close off their nest boxes, because if you don't want them sleeping in there at night, that's an easy way of dealing with it. But what happened was, chickens scuffle, and occasionally when that happened, that would get knocked up and it'd stay into the locked position. So we started having, oops, let's put that back. So we started having, eggs getting packed. So that's what prompted that. You can see there's one in the end there now, just about to lay. So that's access for that. And let's just do the other side quick, otherwise I'll forget. And in really hot weather, occasionally we'll leave one of these open, but it has to be pretty hot to need that. There's plenty of ventilation around the top. And because this nest section is at a slant, eggs, as they get laid, roll downhill, and you can see here in there, the eggs roll downhill and they end up resting against the inside of this, where we can access them and we can collect them, and it always stays completely dry in there. It's a very, very nice system. I'm very pleased with it. Now, these are going to have a load of mulch dumped in probably today, possibly tomorrow. We'll let them just scratch that out a little bit, and then this whole the whole electric fence and the whole run will go next step down. And you can see I've got some wood chip there ready for that. That's not quite enough to cover the whole area, but beyond it, you can see just about under there, there's some of last year's mulch. We didn't do a great deal with this. We didn't plant anything in it last year. It was just somewhere to move the chickens to while it rested these two sections here. And you could even see we've got some more mulch there ready for move number 4. And this is going to go for a few years yet, with them being cycled around. After they get moved out of here, this is going to have amaranth and quinoa put in. That's a little system that we're working on to try and work out which grains will work best here, so that eventually we can be self-sufficient for chicken feed as well. So we'll have a complete closed loop system. But hang on, let's get that closed. So beyond where the chicken tractors runs are, so you can see here where they were previously and where they were last year. You can see there's areas where we've got the old mulch still poking through in places, and we've even got a bit of grain coming through where, yeah, they've missed the odd bit. It's been scratched underneath and that grows up. But yeah, quite pleased with that. You can see how healthy it is. But beyond that, we've got planted up. They've had a proper hammering because they've only gone out this spring, and slugs and snails love them. But this is Siberian pea tree, and there's loads of them. Pretty much every cane that you can see here is a Siberian pea. Some of the ones that went out last year are looking pretty good now. That's this one here, and you can see they're hard as nails, and that's doing quite well. It's been chewed on a bit, but it's still really thriving. Nice little bit of mulch underneath it. And all around it, let's find you a good example. Here we go. We've got all of this dwarf comfrey, and it's incredible stuff. It's a very aggressive spreader. So that's going to come through, and eventually it'll take the grasses out. You see there's loads of it. And where it's a little bit sheltered, you can see how some of the ones that went out last year are doing. I mean, that is, that's a lot of comfrey. And you can see as it's starting to crowd out the grasses already. So there's hundreds and hundreds of them. You can see the ones I guess just starting to come through now. And I've planted another couple of hundred this year. So this whole area will eventually be a chicken forest. So they're being pulsed around that system to get that system really well established and completely weed free. And then in the longer term, they'll be pulsed through this section in strips where they have access to the comfrey, Siberian pea as a self-forage system. And there'll be overstory trees coming in as well, but there's not too many of them gone in yet. You can see that dark little spot there, that's a black elder. And these things will give us a crop as well as the chickens. So, a bit of something for everyone. I'll show you this quick as well while I'm at it. This is the small chicken tractor. Now this is where, when we bring on pullets, we put this in with them. But because everything that we design has to have multiple functions, one of the chicken waterers that you've seen on the front of the existing chicken tractor gets stuck on here with a bungee so the chickens can access that from beneath. So we haven't got to have multiple waterers, and this is also sized to fit on top of the raised beds. So we can use the chickens to completely till all of that as well. So that's a quick update on the chicken system.